There, my dear friends. I don't pretend to know more than I do. I try my best to pour whatever knowledge I do have into this channel, and I will continue to do so. Anything from skill and experiences to sharing thoughts, ideas, and opinion. Respect is something that I've always cared very deeply about, and something that I've thought about often, sharing my thoughts about it at least a few times. I've expressed my views on love and respect as a hand in hand single idea, and so on. That being said, something needs to change. Here we are in 2024, and I still see a pattern of respect being seen as a little more than a joke. That's really only part of the issue as I see it, but I'm really getting ahead of myself. The reason I think that this requires a larger conversation is that disrespecting one or another is not something that shows up in social media alone, which I've gone into briefly before. Maybe it's more transparent in social media, but I really think that it takes other forms as well. Scams through technology, for example, is a form of disrespect. I want to space this out and talk about as much as I can to promote knowledge and awareness, but maybe also thoughtful consideration on the part of those who may wish to cause harm or else just have a little fun in the form of a quote end quote prank, whatever the case may be. It may seem a bit cliche at this point to actually start with social media, but that's where I came across what started this for me, just before the new year started, in fact. I want to start off by telling you a story of an experience that I had several years ago, one that directly relates to what I'm about to talk about. You'll see what I mean. But that it was about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe five, during Christmas. I remember it was Christmas because my mother, my sister, and I were driving to the mall for some Christmas shopping. I received a notification for a direct message from my Twitter account. X now, it was still Twitter back then. It was apparently, supposedly, from this celebrity that I followed. Um, I didn't think it was, but I answered anyway. I have no idea why at this point. It's pretty hard to get the details right now, but I think he started off by asking me how it was. And I was very nice and polite. Said fine, thank you. Um, it's an honor to speak with you. Um, you're really good at what you do. Something along those lines. I was very respectful. Um, so he said thank you, and then he let me know that because I'm not seeing that it's the same account, he actually has different profile pages because he's so busy, this and that. So then he asked me my name, I told him my name. He probably asked me my name before that. Then he asked me where I live. Then I'm like, ooh, danger, danger. But I figured his job had something to do with the real estate. So maybe it was a location thing. Give him the benefit of the doubt. So I didn't give him my address because, well, I wouldn't do that. I gave him the province that I'm in. Uh, About half a second later, I was thinking I should have just given him the country, but what can you do? So, but the thing that really got to me was that he didn't ask where I was located or where I was from. He asked me where I lived. He asked me for my address, is what I got from that. So he asked me for my address. I gave him my province, after which he asked me something else. I don't quite remember what, but it did make me, excuse me, close the message. Now, he reopened it because I had already invited him into the message. Um, so at that point, it was getting rather nerve wracking for me. Um, so what I did is while I was speaking with him, I went to my Twitter page and I started tweeting the actual celebrity just to let them know what was going on. Just basically word for word as I was talking with this imposter. Um, because my thing was, um, I was scared, but that wasn't the major thing. The major thing for me was that this imposter was um, potentially damaging this man's reputation, and I didn't want him to do that, obviously. Um, so anyway, long story short, um, when I went home that night, by the way, I had blocked him, the imposter, not the actual guy. Um, and I had told the actual person that I had blocked him. So that night, when I went home, I was trying to look for his messages from before I had blocked him. I did not even find the fact that I had blocked him. It was the message that said I had blocked him had been removed. So, well, actually, let me back up a second. After I finished with um, the actual gentleman, I wished him happy holidays, Merry Christmas to him and his family and everything like that. So then when I went home, as I said, I didn't see the block. Um, so because I didn't see his block or his message, I saved them on my email because they come through your email as well. Um, I'm talking like you don't know this now. You probably do. But yeah, they weren't there. So I figured out that either he or the company itself or his team got the other guy suspended from the social media account because I actually found him through previous messages through my email and found this actual page, and it said a person has been suspended temporarily or whatever. So I'm like, oh, that's okay. So that's nice. This guy went to bat for me, like total complete stranger. But and I wanted to say thank you, but I didn't because I figured I had wasted enough of this poor guy's time. I was I was constantly tweeting him everything my entire conversation I was having with this other guy. So anyway, yeah, that's it. End of the little story. Okay, so back to present day. I was scanning a social media page and came across a few posts. I saw those same posts over the following weeks at least, sometimes from the same author's page, other times not. The first post that really got my attention was the one that was supposedly part of an actor's private page. One whose work I've started following recently, which I guess is why it appeared in my feed. Supposedly, this actor was feeling bored and wanted to connect with one of his fans privately. Here's the contact link, and so it went. As a matter of fact, I think that I may have seen this more than a few times as the same author, but under a slightly different page title, still quoting that it was his private page. Another post that was not titled to be from a private page, but just a fan page, I assume to give it some sense of legitimacy, first stated that no harm was meant by the post, and then proceeded to explain that he or she had met this same actor at a convention and that he, the actor, said that he didn't post his contact information but gave it to this fan directly. And even though he didn't want this fan to post his contact information, he or she did so anyway. Again, a contact link, a different contact link from what I remember. I must admit I wasn't paying that close attention. The third post that I came across in the same vein was supposedly from this actor's manager. Very close to the same message as the one previous. Never posts his contact information. Here's some contact information, followed by a link. Okay, so I'll try to keep this short, but this kind of thing just really upsets me. I don't know this actor, but I am a fan, and I don't think this is right. Even if I wasn't a fan, I wouldn't think it was right. If we take the first post at face value, one could perhaps assume that the actual author of this post was just trying to make a connection of some sort. I'm trying really hard not to think about uglier, scarier, more sinister scenarios, but the mind does wander, and thinking about the world that we live in, let's just hope that someone does not actually have those vile intentions and leave it at that. Here's the thing though, you're using someone's name. Much like in my story, intentional or not, you're playing games with their reputation, professional as well as personal. Bored? Connect privately? I will not be specific. The inference speaks for itself. What are you doing? Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you have no bad intentions towards anyone. Towards the person whose name you're using? Seems very unlikely to me, being that you're using someone else's identity. All in good fun seems to be thrown out the window at this point. Or to the people that you want to have read your post. Say it's all meant to be a joke. First of all, it's not. And second, the language that you're using does not suggest that it is. Speaking of language, one of the things from these posts that mirrors my experience from several years ago is the number of missing words, and in some cases, phrases, in whole or in part, that there were. I would be wary of things like that, little clues that put trust into question if the intention of what you're reading does not appear as obvious. Do you remember in my story where I said that gentleman who picked a conversation with me um, started asking me another question or saying something else. And at that point is when I decided to go with the actual celebrity and start tweeting him. Well, that was what I was just talking about. His sentences to me, all through actually, not just then, were broken. Bits and pieces were missing, words and sometimes whole phrases. So that's what that was. You may think that I'm getting too far away from the topic of respect. I'm not. Everything I've talked about has to do with respect or lack thereof. What about the people that those posts were directed at? Is their intelligence respected? Their time? Are they respected as human beings? Or are they just another person to fall for someone's prank? Or else fall into their trap? A lot of people think that I'm just too sensitive and that I should just let things go. But when I see something that I don't think is right, I need to speak out about it. I don't think it's right to pose as someone else just for the fun of it or for any other reason. Like I said, I don't know this actor. I am just a fan. But as such, I follow his work and have a lot of respect for him. I've seen the things that he can do with his talent and with his skill, and I am in awe with what he has accomplished. Is that too dramatic? Not if you know who I'm talking about, it's not. He deserves so much more than to have his reputation called into question because that's just what someone felt like doing that day. To make themselves feel better about something, or even about themselves, or for some other reason entirely. I don't really care about the reason. When you're calling someone's reputation into question through action or rumor or anything else, you're also calling their values into question, their trustworthiness, their nature as a human being, whether it be kind and caring, honest and trustworthy, ambitious and a hard worker, or anything else. Everything in between. You're making a fool out of them playing around with their dignity. I don't care who it is. It doesn't matter whether a person is of a certain stature or position in life, or whether they're your next door neighbor or someone who looked at you the wrong way in the checkout line. In my opinion, we are in the position that we are in as a society, as a community, because we have no respect for each other. You may think to yourself that this doesn't play a huge role in that. Doesn't it though? I think that's wrong. I think that every way in which we disrespect each other contributes to the whole. There's a lot more to talk about. This is just the first take. There's even a lot more to cover here, but I think that we've made a good start. What do you think about what I talked about today? Leave a comment and let me know. Join the conversation. Feel free to comment, like, and or subscribe if you so choose, and I'll see you next time with something else.